As an entrepreneur, you need to share your mission and vision in a way that makes it easy for others to understand. Joe Salazar works with CEOs and entrepreneurs to help them learn the Salazar Method on episode 132 of Veteran on the Move.
Welcome to Veteran on the Move. If you're a veteran in transition, an entrepreneur wannabe, or someone still stuck in that JOB trying to escape, this podcast is dedicated to your success. And now, your host, Joe Crane.
Have you checked out the Veteran on the Move YouTube channel? In addition to listening to any podcast episode, you can join our live stream. I'm starting a new project soon, and you can watch us live on YouTube as I walk a soon-to-be veteran through his transition out of the military over the next year. Join us live as we take this veteran through the transition process and into the civilian sector. Also, these live streams will be archived on the Veteran on the Move YouTube channel to watch if you can't make it for the live airing. Make sure you subscribe to the Veteran on the Move YouTube channel, and you will be notified when we go live with our new project on transition. The top 7 paths to freedom is my free gift to you for listening to the show, featuring 7 great ways for a veteran to take their first step into the exciting world of entrepreneurship. To receive your free gift, go to veteranonthemove.com, or if you're listening on a mobile device, you can text the word veteran to 38470. Joe Salazar III is a 38-year-old law student who will take the Texas bar next year. Although Joe is pursuing a law degree, he focuses on teaching entrepreneurs how to share the message that drives them. Drawing on his years of experience in both management and corporate training, Joe developed the Salazar Method to help others understand that public speaking is not a skill to learn, but rather it is a process of sharing their convictions. Working with founders and CEOs of tech startups, Joe teaches his clients to share their vision so that it is easy to explain and simple to understand. All right, Joe Salazar, welcome to Veteran on the Move. Thanks for being here today. Before we get to talk about business and entrepreneurship, take us back a little ways and tell us about your background.
Thank you for having me on. To be brief about it, because I tend to give a lot of detail sometimes. I'm from Laredo, Texas. My family, my mom was a teacher. My dad, he was involved. I don't know too much, but Texas A&M Corps, did some military stuff, though I don't really know too much. It's kind of a secret, I guess. But, growing up, my family did the McDonald's business. And that's where I really cut my teeth with real business. It seems in this world of tech and advanced technology and, bits and pieces of new companies that are going to change the world, even with social media, that art of managing people and actually counting things, worrying about things, whether it's pickles or computers. It's the idea that you have this lost art of managing real tangibles from the ground up. So I did that, and I worked with my family business from the time I was 18 to 29. And within all that, though, my family, we kind of splintered within the roles we took. My father and my sister did sales, and I really found my niche. I found my calling in both management, training, and operations. And that developed alongside my personality. Come 29, I realized, wow, I don't want to be a franchisee. I don't want to be my own business owner, operator in that context like my sister does. And she's fantastic. So I took this world of business and I said, well, McDonald's may not directly apply to the world, but the management and training program does. Those are real skills that I can take anywhere. So I got into banking in Houston for a while. I was a program supervisor there. I was a corporate trainer. And that's where all this kind of started. I started looking at me and I said, what were my personal insights, my takeaways, both from my experience with McDonald's and who I am as an individual? And so I got to test them out over thousands and thousands of people, teach class every day for 8 hours, did that for over 3.5 years. And I started cultivating this both self-awareness and skill set. So the takeaway there is that in business, sometimes we're given tangible experiences, but within that, we realize certain truths about ourselves that, wow, I'm actually good at this, or I'm not good at that, but I can partner up with someone who is. So went to college after banking, got into law, and that's where this really started. I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer. I never intended to practice. I just wanted to find a way to fight for my country, to fight for Texas, to fight for my family, using my strengths. So when I come to the business that I've started, the Salazar Method, I'm not trying to be a self-help guru. I don't care if I ever do a webinar, a seminar. I am not here to fill seats. I just kind of looked at me. I've been a very passionate speaker. I've been a very good speaker. That's the one thing anyone who knows me says, wow, Joe, you can communicate. You can speak to a room full of 100, 200, 300 people and get your point across. So I said, there's a lot of people out there that have the wrong idea about public speaking. They think it's a skill. I think it's just sharing our convictions in a meaningful way. And that really requires self-analysis more than anything else, strength of character. So I put that down on paper, and I've been running with that since January.
Wow. That's some really deep stuff. I want to go back and address some of those things here in a moment, but I first have to ask, so you actually grew up in a McDonald's franchise?
Yes.
Like your parents owned it or something like that, and you were working at it from 18 on or 16 on?
Exactly, and they still do. They're down in San Antonio. And,
no kidding. Do they own more than one?
Yeah, they own 4.
Wow.
And the McDonald's world has drastically changed. So anyone that wants to get a McDonald's, I'd say be careful. The numbers may not be in your favor anymore, but there was a time when it was a very good opportunity, and that's where I learned my work ethic. They're amazing role models, my parents.
You know, I forget where I heard this, but I heard that McDonald's spends like hundreds of thousands of dollars doing market analysis and everything else to determine where there is a good place to put an actual McDonald's. And Wendy's doesn't spend a dime. What they do is when a McDonald's shows up, Wendy's makes sure they're within a block of a McDonald's and they know they'll be good.
That's actually pretty funny. And
it is funny, but I think it's true. I mean, I don't know if you know anything about McDonald's and the research they put into where they put their stores.
It is. They might as well be real estate gurus. So I'm kind of far removed from the business now, and I didn't like dealing with corporate. I'm kind of a rebel sometimes, get in trouble. So I let my sister and my dad deal with them. And I just kind of hunkered down and, went into the shadows of the business, working with the people, working with operations. But yeah, there's a lot of money spent to find where to put a store.
Yeah, so that's amazing. I mean, that's like a life. I've never known anybody that like whose parents or anybody personally who actually owned a McDonald's. That's actually fascinating to me because the whole McDonald's story going way back to the beginning with it was Ray Kroc was the founder, right? Ray Kroc
Absolutely.
was the Ray or Roy?
Ray,
yeah.
Kroc.
And he ended up buying a milkshake restaurant or a chain from the McDonald brothers or something, and just to kind of stick it in their face, he kept the name of the brothers he bought the restaurant from because they didn't originally want to sell it to him or something like that.
Yeah, I think he was selling multi-mixer shake machines. And I think my story is 70, 80% correct. He recognized he was selling so many shake machines to this one company, this one burger stand called McDonald's. Like, what the heck? So he went over there, checked it out, and bought the company. So if there's any McDonald's or business historians, I'm pretty close. I may not be right. But it's funny, the McDonald's story tells me 2 things. Number one, for all those veterans, for all those individuals wanting to make a change, Ray Kroc didn't do that till he was in his 50s. So it is never too late for anyone to have an idea and go with it, to make it happen. That's the one big takeaway from Ray's story. From my story at the McDonald's, a lot of people, I think most of us have worked at fast food growing up or restaurants and realized, wow, that kind of sucks. But we learn so much. We learn real lessons about dealing with people. And this is the one thing I would say, not about the company I have now, but about McDonald's. The one thing that is the most difficult in any business is trying to get your employees to act like an owner. And what does that mean? It means that they care. They have some investment in it. And this is the one point I would make to anyone. And I learned this when I was working in the corporate banking world. You have people show up and they're there for a paycheck. They don't care if they're at a bank, a prestigious bank, or a McDonald's. To them, their life exists outside of the doors of the business. So what I started doing was I'm dealing with 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, or people who are on the other end of 40. And again, they're just trying to survive. How do you get them to act and behave like you? I would sit down each and every one of my employees and I would say, what do you want out of your life? I would share with them what I want out of my life. And once that's on the table, we both met in the middle. How can this job help both of us accomplish that? Oh, you want to open your own shop? Because in certain businesses, turnover is the way of the beast. Don't fight it. Embrace it. Say, I know you're here for 2-3 years while you're going to be in college. I know you're here for another 2 years while you're completing high school. What skills can I teach you? And they say, oh, wow, I need to learn this and this, or I want to learn this and this. Well, if you go in all in on me, I will go all in on you. And when it's time for you to leave, I'll give you a handshake and a hug and say, it was nice working with you. So the McDonald's taught me that. And that's something that at least most people I talk to in any business, they don't understand, they don't embrace. And I'm not saying tell all your employees, hey, great, I can't wait for you to leave. But it's like being in a real relationship. What do you need and how can I help you?
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, I'm thinking about the 4 teenagers my wife and I have, and almost all of the issues we have with them directly relate to the fact that they just don't care.
Yeah.
Trying to get them to care. If you get them to care about something, and sometimes our only resort is we know what they do care about and we take it away to get their attention so that they care about what we need them to care about. And then when they start caring again, we give them back their stuff.
That's a good point. It's very interesting.
I mean, the human interaction, and of course, that's one thing most veterans experience. Like if you go to work for McDonald's and start in the trenches at McDonald's in just a couple of years, you'll learn if you can hack it that long, and most employees probably don't even last that long, but if you can hack it that long, I mean, you've got almost a PhD in education on how to deal with people. And that's one thing that's great about veterans is, most veterans, the things they've done and the training and the experiences they've had, they've packed so much living into a short amount of time, and they've had to deal with people in very precarious scenarios. I mean, throw in being cold, tired, hungry, danger, and you still got to maintain a positive attitude, get along with everybody, and get everybody to still care. So it's one of those soft skills that employers are looking for. And it's the same soft skills that make great employees that also help make great entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's interesting. My undergrad recently was at UTSA, and UTSA is, veteran mecca in many ways. A lot of my friends were veterans. I would go to the local tactical stores, shooting stores, gun stores, veterans. And also, unfortunately, there's some of the hospitals there, so you see some people returning that have some injuries. And that's hard. That kind of, maybe for another conversation, it kind of shapes my view of things and how I'd like to get involved down the road. But I think I will say this, and this summer I was co-working at Capital Factory in Austin. It's like the tech hub down there, with Techstars. It's a startup accelerator, incubator. It's a pretty big spot in this part of the country. That's where Obama went and spoke, so I guess he was drawn to that area. Not trying to get political or take sides. But the one thing that I realized with the startup world that you have a lot with veterans, they have these soft skills, this burning desire, this character to do something. And so many times, if they don't come out and go right back into contracting or try to do something directly related, it's tough for them to apply this skill set and this mindset to find something that's genuinely them. Well, one of the things that I learned is that, when you're looking at your past, don't necessarily, for these entrepreneurs, look at your duties. McDonald's, I did fries. In the military, who knows what I did. Try to abstract out. So, for example, if I ran a cash register and I counted my box every night, or let's say I was a shift manager and I counted other people's box, not to be cheesy and not to be fake, but that was people management, cash flow management. business analysis. And if you really think about it, once you take the skill in a way that you understand and you detach it from the specific duties, it opens up a whole world for you to realize, wow, I can actually do this thing. Now, how can I apply this thing in a new context? And that seems to help a lot of those in the startup world. And the veterans I've worked with recognize they are so much more than whatever their title was in the military. And it frees them up to have some confidence to say, I take what I've done before, I apply it in a new context, small little learning curve, I'm good to go. But most importantly, like you said, they've got the strength of character to see it through.
Absolutely. We talk about the difference between the soft skills and hard skills all the time on the show, and it's worth making the point one more time. Hard skills are, certifications, education, stuff that you can see on paper, licenses, requirements, those kinds of things are considered hard skills. Soft skills are all those things that you can't really put your finger on, or it's difficult to put down on a resume. And it's all those soft skills that the veterans have lots of, and they're really good at those soft skills. Leadership, getting along with people, discipline, showing up no matter what the consequences are, never giving up, the perseverance, the stick-to-itiveness.
Absolutely.
And to do it like an analogy, from aviation where I come from, we always talk about monkey skills. Theoretically, you could teach a monkey has the physical attributes and the basic mental aptitude to actually fly an aircraft. They've got feet, they've got hands, arms, legs, they've got eyes. They could move the sticks, move the pedals, move the throttles. They could physically do all that. But yet, why don't monkeys fly airplanes? It's because they don't have that mental capacity, that those, what you might, for a loosely associated analogy, they don't have those soft skills in order to put those hard skills to work.
Absolutely. And to be honest, with you setting it up like that, it's my core belief that the soft skills are what we use to wield those hard skills effectively and with conscience. Those soft skills are what make or break the best of us as human beings. I mean, that's just my comment on what you're saying. I do believe for people that go on hard skills, that may be what helped distinguish you on paper and maybe in real life if you have a particular thing you need to do. But who you are as an individual and that character is what will dictate so much more beyond just what you were trained to do. And, that is why, at least with the consulting business that I started, and to be honest, when I started this consulting business, I have a year left of law school before I take the bar, and I'm trying to find a way, or I'm trying to be a little more clear about exactly what I'm going to do. But the Salazar Method and what I developed wasn't intended necessarily as a moneymaker. I beta tested it out this summer. I didn't really charge my clients, but for me, it was like first half of the year, let me get to the core of who I am and write about what it is I've always done in a way that makes sense to me and is replicable, but can also help people find the core within themselves. And then this summer, I applied that process to a lot of the young founders, CEOs, startup types that I was working with in Austin. And many people, I knew better, but many people on the face of it might have thought, well, that's tech. You're talking about the symmetry of character and why they want to start a company. How does that really help them with the company? And you'd be surprised because it clarifies to them why they're getting in the game, and it helps them express the vision that drives them, not only for product development, but to their potential business partners, investors, and then going back to the McDonald's employee analogy, to the team members that may want to work with them. But again, this is all, to kind of attach it to what you're saying, soft skills. But I'd argue to ask yourselves the kind of questions that I ask for the process. What comes out on the other end is hard won. And that is why I tell people, forget about public speaking. Do not practice public speaking. Throw it away. Public speaking is not like golf. If I practice golf, I golf. I practice football, I play football. How do you practice public speaking? Stand here, talk this, move this way. How does that really carry over? What people are concerned about is the message. your vision? Can you inspire me? And when you are going to inspire me, it's because you know yourself inside and out. I mean, I've seen little old ladies on stage, scared, hugging a microphone, more powerful than any professional speaker I've ever watched. So I think that's what I'm trying to translate here about these soft skills out to the real world, to those veterans, entrepreneurs, and startup kinds that have something to say. Forget public speaking. Know your convictions, and the world will know you. And that is how you will attract the right kind of people. So that is really what I wanted to do. So here I am. I have this program. I've worked with it. I'm going to decide exactly how I move forward with it. But it's really for me as an opportunity to meet other like-minded individuals who I may want to work with on a future project. It's like me throwing down on the table, this is what I got. Now, how can we do something together? Does that kind of make sense long term?
Oh, yeah. I agree completely with you. And the nonprofit I started a few years ago, which kind of propelled me into this whole entrepreneurship thing, speaking of heroes, where we're getting our wounded warriors to tell their story. It's exactly right. It's not public speaking. I mean, these wounded warriors that have made it through such traumatic injury and come out on the other side to have become an inspiration to others. I mean, it's just unbelievable when they get up on stage and when they walk into the room, people stop and
yes,
and they like, I need to hear what this guy has to say. So it's very, very powerful. In some ways, their visible injuries capture people's attention initially, but then when they start talking, it just goes even deeper. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Now, so can we dive a little bit deeper into the Salazar method and what that is and what it does?
Absolutely. And kind of touching on, many people are born with very clear differences. Some are tall, some are short, some are muscular, some are skinny, different colors, different sizes. Now, the reason I bring that up is that when you look at people externally, those attributes, those genetic traits, that nature versus nurture, people are born with certain genetic traits, the nature, and then in life, like with epigenetics, if you interact with the environment in such a way, it will trigger that trait in you. So if I have the genes for strong muscles, I never work out, it'll never be triggered. If I work out, well, then let's go for it. Now, the reason I bring that up, because this leads to the Salazar method, I don't claim to be this awesome, badass speaker because that's my personality. I recognize that if we were to flip the internal out, you would see people with so many soft skills that if you really dug deep, they would be just as different as height, just as different as body frame, just as different as hair color, skin color. I recognize that my father, my mother, my sister, my two brothers, we all have this ability in many ways to communicate on different levels, but it is a family trait. Some people don't have that. And yet I'm dyslexic with numbers. And even though I read for law every day, I skip words every now and then. So I have my limitations. So I recognize that I'm built a certain way. I'm not saying, wow, look at me, I'm Joe Salazar, the great speaker. No, I give credit where credit is due. And some of it is just, hey, I was born with this luck of the dice. But I'm 5'6", so I didn't get the height. But when I look at the Salazar method, I built off that platform of finding a way to take in what people are saying and putting it in my own words, and then making it accessible to people. That's what I've been good at, making complex ideas accessible. And because I feel that for me, I have to emotionally align myself with everything I say. That's what keeps me honest. I have to really believe and find a piece of myself in the words coming out of my mouth, because I'm not a gun for hire. That's not what I'm about. I'm not teaching people, hey, be the best salesman. There's other courses for that. So the Salazar method is founded on two things. Public speaking will never get easier for a large segment of the population. And it's even tough for me because when we get on stage, the same fears that we have in a private relationship, fear of rejection, fear of not being felt that we're important, fear of not being understood, they're just magnified on stage in direct proportion to the number of people watching. Public speaking in that context is scary. However, the only way through the noise is to, number one, question the authenticity of your message. If it is the case that our greatest strength and courage as a leader and speaker will come from our convictions. That's the symmetry in the Salazar method. It makes you question the authenticity of what it is you're speaking about. Once we have this set of beliefs, we build up, we find out which ones are our convictions, and this is the most important link. Is our identity a direct manifestation and outgrowth of those convictions that guide us in life? Because if we can have that symmetry, if we recognize who I am is what I believe, who I am is who I want to be, then this is where you get to the speaking part. You then have vision. It is like this structure, this skeleton that as you walk forward in the world, you throw out, you cast it over like a net. And making decisions is easier. Does it fall within? Does it fall without? And then when you're in front of a live audience, you treat public speaking as nothing more than having a private conversation out loud. You need to be that vulnerable. You need to be that brave. And so other than having to have memorized speeches, which I think can help, but it doesn't work. If you know your convictions, you know your identity, you know your vision for the world, you can speak on your message, you can share your vision about your experiences in the war, about your new company, or about who you are as an individual in the community you love. You can do it without thinking of yourself as a speaker, relying on memorized speeches. But for people to have that symmetry within first is the stepping stone. And so last thing I'll say is that when I talk to people who are looking to find a job, or I talk to entrepreneurs, I do a 3-step process. Number one, what is your vision? You have to be very clear and very honest about that. What do you want out of the world? What do you want to do in the world? And then we jump a step and, okay, well, let's put an idea for your company. Give me the pitch. Now, let's connect the two. If you can provide me with 2 or 3 meaningful sentences that logically relate and connect your vision with your proposed idea for a company, then you and I both know you're on the right track, because you were able to connect what's most important to you to what you're trying to do in the real world. And then everything else is easy. Product design, business model development, it all relates to this because it exists within this structure that you feel confident about and you believe in.
Okay, I'm thinking here for a second. Don't take this the wrong way, but I'm like, okay, everything you just said was phenomenal. And so I have to ask, why are you going to law school?
Oh,
because I could tell, like, you're just speaking from the heart, and you're like on fire here. And I'm scratching my head, like, why is he going to law school? Because I'm thinking, what you're talking about, that's what you need to be doing. Full time somehow. So I have to ask, why are you going to law school?
Very, very easy. I got back into school at 32, thinking I need to do something with my life. McDonald's, banking, that didn't work out for me. I'm too headstrong to be in the corporate world, got in trouble a lot. McDonald's, lifting boxes of fries started taking a toll on my back. But I was an undergrad. I double majored philosophy and psychology, but make no mistake, I stayed up nights at school, like in tears, because it took me 12 hours to read 3 pages of Plato. Like, I'm not a smart guy in that. I'm not an academic in that sense. Mm-hmm. But I thought I would do marriage counseling, and I thought I would study like psychedelics, consciousness. My grades were good, but simply because I took great notes. We all, again, have our limits. I can read, but I can listen even better. So there I am, the spring of 2013, thinking, okay, I'll be a marriage counselor, and I'll study this. But I kept thinking, that's very passive. No offense to marriage counselors. But I was waiting for the world to come to me with a problem. And, I don't want to get too political, but some events happened in December of 2012. The world in America seemed very haywire in the spring of 2013. And I've always been the kind of guy that I'm very passionate about freedom to be right, freedom to be wrong, so long as I don't hurt anyone else. And when I saw that there was a lot of movement to take away freedoms from one group or another in the spring of 2013, I was in the campus UTSA, and I remember I threw something down. I don't know what it was. I was reading an article on my phone. I threw something down. I said, "That's it. I'm going to law school." Didn't want to be a lawyer, but I said, "God dang it. I need to get in the fight in a way that I know the terrain. Maybe law's different. I got to know rules and got to know laws, but I'm smart, I'm vocal, and I can express my point of view in a way that I hope people understand." And then I realized, you know what? This is my time to make a stand. At the very least, I love the United States. It's my home. But you look at the different states, and they are going in complete opposite directions with the way they pass laws in response to, let's say, more social issues, gun control. And I'm like, okay, I have 3 beautiful nieces. I have a son, my family, my parents, everyone's here in Texas. Let me see what I can do to fight the good fight, if and ever before things get ugly. So I was like, law, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I know I'm going to struggle. But this is the first time in my life I recognize that I was so certain about a decision. The best part of me, the best version of me would be on the other side of law school. So everyone who knows me at school knows I don't want to practice. They know I hate school, and I've always hated school. My grades are pretty decent. I mean, I'm not dumb. I'm not an academic. I don't like the classroom. But law still has allowed me to cultivate this skill set, to learn about some of the issues in more detail. And I am grateful for the experience. But when I get out, I'm going to use that to eventually, hopefully, get involved. And I don't want to be a politician, please. I don't want that as a career. But I have things to fight for. I want to be my own advocate. And whether I run for office at some time in the future locally, law school is setting the stage for those greater events.
Wow. Okay. That actually wasn't the response I was expecting, but I mean, that was even better. So,
oh, cool.
Outstanding. All right. Yeah, I can tell you've been hanging around. I can tell you've been hanging around a lot of veterans. You use the term "get in the fight" and know the terrain.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So let's get back to the Salazar method. Is it? If I want to learn the Salazar method, what do I do, and what's going to happen? Do I just get on the phone with you and you coach me through it, or you actually have a course or something?
Pretty much. You can go to the website, thesalazarmethod.com. There's a video on there. I got to re-record it. I recorded it in the spring, like at 3 a.m. It's HD, but it's in an apartment next to a bookshelf, but it says what it needs to be said. Now, I say on the website, presentation training for founders and CEOs of tech startups, but that extends to anyone who has got something to say. That was just the niche I was going after in the summer because I realized they tend to have a lot more trouble explaining how their tech is meaningful. Like, I've got a great idea, okay, but so what? What does it do? How's it going to make the world a better place? Then go to the website. They can read about me. They can read the method and the solutions, and they can contact me for a consultation. Now, obviously, right now, this has been a way for me to meet a lot of people, and I hope to meet more great people through this. And so that would be the way to see a little bit more clear what I'm about, learn some of the general principles, and really, in 10 seconds or less, it sounds simple, but it is. Number one, be clear, concise. So many people get caught up with public speaking the right way that they don't actually speak very well at all. Number two, don't share individual ideas. Share the perspective that you embodied when you created those ideas. Don't tell people what it is. Explain to them how you got there. Then everything else makes sense. At the very least, they may like or dislike what you have to say, but they can rationalize in your mind how you came up with those ideas. And number three, at the end of the day, no matter what it is you say, there's a lot of psychology in the room. There may be people that want you to fail. There may be people that want you to succeed. But if having a public speaking gig is just it's having an individual conversation with a lot of individuals, your conviction, your belief, and the guarantee and promise you made to yourself to be honest, that is what's going to get you through. So those are the 3 basic steps. Go to the website, send me an email. And, I don't think what I'm doing is too complicated. I'm probably talking about things most people feel or should know already. I'm just putting it in a way that makes sense to me and hopefully everyone else.
Okay, and the website, just for clarification, is thesalazarmethod.com?
Correct.
Okay, and we can go there and send you an email if we want to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. I've started a new project recently on YouTube Live. I'm not 100% sure if that's the best platform, but that's where I'm started at right now, where I'm taking Marine Sergeant Narvell James through the transition process over the next 10 months as he gets out of the Marine Corps. And if you're listening to this, you can go to YouTube Live and then search for Veteran on the Move to find the YouTube Live channel. But what I'm thinking is, just talking with Narvell up to this point, remembering what my transition was like, a lot of what you're talking about is really what most veterans need to be doing as they get ready to prepare for their transition. Too many of us just like, okay, where am I going to get a job and where am I going to live? And then I'll just go from there. But this transition is upon you, whether it's being forced or it's just coming naturally like retirement or whatever, you're just your time to get out and you want to get out. But this transition's coming and you're going through it. What better time to go back and reflect philosophically, psychologically, and do this self-analysis like everything you're talking about here and really find your true self and use that as the basis for beginning your transition as opposed to just looking for the right salary in the right town.
That's beautifully said. Absolutely. That's a very hard-hitting statement right there.
Yeah, and I think so many veterans, and I've been victim of this myself. I transitioned out of the Marine Corps twice, and it was always about how much money can I make, and if I get that job, where can I live, or if I want to live here, what jobs can I get? It's almost like we're doing it backwards. So
yes.
In military planning process, we start from the objective area, and we work backwards all the way back to wherever it is you're going to launch from. But as we start to go through our transition, we don't think about what our true objectives are and where the objective area is. We just think the objective is salary, money, and geographical location, and then we don't put a whole lot of thought into it beyond that. And that's why so many transitions fail, or so many of us become unhappy when we get out because we didn't really land where we needed to land, and we didn't know where we were trying to land because we didn't really think about it.
It's interesting. A lot of the veterans that I've met and been friends with, unfortunately, so many of these guys are really smart, sharp, and that's a very dangerous skill to have. And I mean that in a good way. Critical thinkers, but I see a lot of them. Some do want to go back. Some want a contract. Some go back because it's like, it's all I got. It's all I know. Or for some that love tactical training, some love, trying to be part of the military. Absolutely. They'll start picking up jobs locally here and there that keep them connected to the community. But I've seen so many of them behind a counter, miserable, like unfulfilled, like that light inside them is just kind of, it's covered up. And that's the thing that, the idea of coming on your show, it's like, it was meaningful to me because I'm seeing the images of my friends right now who are veterans and are just kind of like, well, I'm out. I'm going to school. They're checking all the boxes. They're doing what they're supposed to do, but it's like there's empty inside. Not that they're horrible human beings. They're still having fun, but it's kind of like they're still following 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to get a job, and I go to work, and I come home, and I go to work, and I just think that there's so much more to show. I think there's so much more there that is not being tapped, especially for the veteran community.
Yeah, and I think too many of us get in a position where, especially if you're the sole breadwinner of the family and if you've got debt and you don't have a lot of money saved up, you've put yourself in a tough position financially where you really don't have a choice. You're like, I have to have a job, otherwise this whole thing's going to come crumbling down. So it's almost like damage control just to get the job, and doesn't matter where we live kind of thing. And then later on you start thinking, okay, what would I really like to do? But
absolutely.
So Joe, you shared some great wisdom and a lot of golden nuggets there with us. I've been writing a lot of these bullets down and try to put that in the show notes for this podcast episode. But yeah, I had an idea as I'm walking Sergeant Norvell James through his transition process over the next 10 months, maybe even beyond. I've thought about getting some third parties to join us live on the YouTube channel. And I thought you might be a good source to have. So maybe the next couple of weeks when Norvell and I get on our live YouTube stream, you can jump in and join us and maybe we can all watch while you walk Norvell through some of this thought process and gauge where he is really looking to go and what he's looking to do.
Oh, that's very meaningful. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll definitely take you up on your offer. And
that would be great. I mean, we could all see you in action, We're putting Norvell on the spot and
Yeah.
No,
and thank you for the offer. I would love to be a part of the process. I think it's a very meaningful thing you're doing, and any way I can contribute, absolutely.
Oh yeah, and I mean there's so much value there, and I would love to just be a part of it and watch it. Maybe we can bring you on because we're real early in the process right now. We bring you on now, and then maybe a couple months later, bring you on again and check back in and just kind of follow. You can kind of help us through the whole process. So that would be great.
No, I'm excited about that. I really am. Thank you.
All right, Joe. Well, we're about the end of our time, unfortunately. Remember, you can find Joe at thesalazarmethod.com if you want to get in touch with him. And Joe, I would like to give you the last word. And what would you say to that individual that's out there, whether they're getting ready to start a transition, they're in the middle of it, or maybe they didn't like where they landed after their transition? What would you say to them as far as getting into the exciting world of entrepreneurship?
I think the most important thing I would say is two items. No matter where you landed, I promise you, I know things can be very difficult. And like Joe said, the idea that you have families and obligations, I know. I've been there. I've been married, divorced, engaged again. I have a son. I did my whole life as a 180. So you're in good company. I think there's always a way out, and you are never done. McDonald's, Ray Kroc, 50 years old, 52 years old when he started it. I'm 38, and I believe for me, I'm not even in my prime. So for you, the only thing that matters is an insight and a willpower, and takes some time. But, if you are going to be an entrepreneur, I've seen my father struggle, and I've seen him do some amazing things when the real world said it wasn't supposed to happen. And I still don't know everything he did to keep our family together, to keep our family afloat, because there are hard times. But if you have that belief in yourself, you can communicate that with your family, your partners, you do some deep reflection. When you jump to entrepreneurship, and if you kind of do some of the things I was talking about and we're talking about, get into the right place at the right time for the right reasons, it will make the journey so much easier and enjoyable to withstand.
All right, Joe, that's awesome. We could talk for hours, but unfortunately, I try to keep this podcast down to about 30 minutes, and we're well beyond that now. But there's somebody on their commute right now saying, "God, he's usually done by now. I'm supposed to be going into the office and sitting in the parking lot waiting to go into work or something."
Yeah.
All right, Joe. We'll definitely be back in touch, and I'll try to let you know when we get Joe on the Veteran on the Move YouTube live stream with Norvell. So, all right, Joe. Thanks again, and we are out of here.
Thank you very much.
As you can tell from listening to the Veteran on the Move podcast, interviews are a great way to tell your story and spread the word about your business. If you would like to get booked as a podcast guest, I recommend Interview Valet. You can check out Interview Valet at veteranonthemove.com/valet. Be sure to check out Thrive15.com, the world's premier online education platform that helps entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and intrapreneurs learn how to start or grow a successful business. Start your free 30-day membership by going to Thrive15.com and use the promo code VETERAN. Thank you for listening to Veteran on the Move, your pathfinder to freedom. If you like the show, leave us a review on iTunes. Reviews are always greatly appreciated. So until next time, This veteran is Oscar Mike.